Hitler was not a nationalist. Hitler was not a Christian. Hitler was brave in war, for sure, but it was about just brutal masculinity and power, and it's the bad masculinity. It's jihadi masculinity. And we're going to talk a lot about what it means to be a man. Before I even get into Sam Tripoli, you're going to have to wait, Sam. You sit your ass down and you're going to learn something about Adolf Hitler real quick. Watch this speech, and this may get us... It's all right if you guys are talking a lot about the mustache. You know, I used to be blind, but now I see. Mustaches garner respect from men. If you have a mustache, you have to be over 30. It helps if you're a dad and you can't drive a van. Other than that, because anyone can have a beard. I respect beards. Masculinity keeps your face warm. You know, you're too busy crushing to shave. But homeless people can also have beards. This says, I get it, but I also clean up a little bit. And my wife thinks it's kind of sexy. So I'm going to keep it for a little bit. I don't think I can fully commit to it because people do treat me like I'm a police officer a lot. Like someone at Starbucks would say something like, sir. They'd be like, yes, sir. I'm like, listen, I'm just one of you guys. I used to not have a stash. All right. So this may get the stream taken down. It is all good. I want to use the best possible examples as I can to make my point. This is a guy named Khal Drogo. And this is a scene from, I think, the first or second season of Game of Thrones. He is as close to a Hitler archetype as I can muster. And it's very similar to how I feel about toppling dictators in the Middle East. And this will also help explain why feminists, quote unquote, who call men toxic all the time, like Islam, these are a group of people that don't think they should drive and they need 8 witnesses to a rape, right? Women who feel unsafe like powerful men. If they feel unsafe, like there is a lot of women that have been turned on to a degree where they start having relations with themselves to this scene. In this scene, he's bragging about raping people, right? This character of Khaleesi is being raped by her abusive brother. She feels unsafe in this. She's a vulnerable person, just like Germany was pre-Hitler, post-World War I, the Weimar Republic. All right, see, this is what people neglect to talk about with old mean Mr. Mustache Adolf Hitler. Hitler didn't create World War II. Hitler didn't create the Holocaust. Hitler was what Germany needed at that time because Germany was broken to a degree. This is why I work so hard to try and get people to have families. You know, Hitler didn't have a family, right? And focus on our communities and our values and stuff, because the scariest part of the Nazis is it made logical sense. Okay, when the German mark was absolutely destroyed, which will happen to the dollar, it's not if, it's when. The old story is that you would need a wheelbarrow to buy bread because all the money was so worthless. You would need a wheelbarrow to buy bread. So think about how many people were starving to death. No one thinks about that. If you need a wheel, does anyone here have so much money that you can fit it in a wheelbarrow? I'm doing pretty well these days. I'm not wheelbarrow wealthy. So people that wealthy with a wheelbarrow of money can only get bread. What do you think middle class people, working class people, poor people, they're dying. And they're being shamed for World War I when it was without question not exclusively Germany's fault. It was, when you look at the causes of World War I, you could spend your life trying to figure the mess out. But the Treaty of Versailles was both punitive, but they didn't enforce it well. And so you got a guy like Hitler, who's very similar to Drogo. And Germany is very similar to Khaleesi. This guy is evil as fuck. Listen to this speech, right? This isn't nationalism. This is imperialism. And this is that power caliphate shit that turns a good world into hell. So if your woman feels safe and loved, she doesn't like guys like this. She thinks they're creepy and weird and a threat to her life. Vulnerable women. This is why the left loves single moms, broken families, women having abortions. You know the shit that does to a woman's psyche? Because broken women want power. And so they try to make American men hate themselves. Men in general hate themselves, take on the burdens of the elites. You know, Jews have to have the burdens of the Rothschilds and the banks and all this shit and the media whores. And they just have to deal with it. They have to deal with what England did with the Balfour Declaration and how they just kind of bailed without figuring it out and how they just there's people on the ground having to deal with that every day that did not make the money that you think they did. And so that's why evil likes broken. And that's why, and I'll get to Sam Tripoli soon enough, why people are concerned about me, because I'm currently not evil and I'm not broken. I mean, I'm broken in the human sense, but my life is stable and full of love and I'm preparing for the future. See, this is the thing. This crazy imperial war bullshit that this dude and Hitler did, that's not masculinity. That's a sickness. Masculinity is making walls and barriers and having water and knowing how to shoot a gun. And when predators come, you kill the predators. It's not going out and like torturing a cat, you know? And for those people that have went through periods of their life when they've had sex with a lot of people, it's very comparable to that. Real masculinity isn't being with a ton of women. It's being with one woman and building with her. And I'll tell stories about that. I'll tell some pretty vulnerable stories from my past about that's a big misnomer. This isn't masculinity. This is damage, what I'm about to show you. And it's just like with Hitler. It's just like with caliphates. All right, so watch this. I will also pledge a gift. I will give him iron share. It's not his to give. That the mother, father, that his mother, father sat upon. I will give him 7 kingdoms, not his to give. I, Drogo, will do this. I will take my Khaleesi west to where the world ends. Ride the wooden horses across the salt water. Like no cow has ever done before. I will kill the men in iron suits and tear down their stone houses. I will rape their women and their children. I will take as slaves and bring their broken gods back to Dothra. This I vow. I, Drogo, son of Barbo, gay name, I swear before the mother of mountains and the stars, as the stars look down and witness all right, so that's crazy evil, right? He's talking about raping women and turning children into slaves, and she's getting turned on. There's women watching that at home getting turned on. They're like, legend. That isn't love. That isn't masculinity. A real man doesn't vow to bring power based on force after he rapes and enslaves children and women. That's how you really talk about the real Adolf Hitler. It's not about the Jewish thing. That's been so twisted and messed with and all that stuff, and it's been used for so much control and weird. Talk about the Slavs, talk about Ukraine, talk about Russia, talk about how Adolf Hitler was saying that we will kill them all and spread our people. That's imperialism, dude. It's no good shit. That's not a hero. But when you break a woman, like that woman was being raped by her brother, right? And so she's facing a situation where that guy is the best guy for her. And that's the thing that we all have to understand, right? Because when you're being raped by your brother, when that animal, I wonder if Owen knows it's Jason Momoa. Yeah, of course I do. But that's beside the point. That's a character that sick fuck was playing. So anyway, Khal Drogo looks at his woman and is like, and he pours molten gold all over her brother's head and it burns his flesh right off. And her assistant or sidekick or whatever is like, don't look, Khaleesi. And she's like, I want to look. Because she hates what her brother did to her, and she wants an animal to take them all out. That was Germany in 1925. That was Germany in 1930. That's most of America right now. And it's not in the financially desperate time that Germany was, but I'm a student of history. When people start wiping their ass with money and no one's representing them, you know, you got Nancy Pelosi out in Hawaii bitching that Trump can't talk. It gets to the point where people look to power, women especially. Men are more likely to be loyal and tribal because women have more on the line. Women historically would get raped by any conquering man. So they look for protection. That's why evil loves fucking with women, because women can either be the root of all like creation of life and home and family and everything beautiful in your life, or it's the mechanism to destroy a civilization. You get women broken, you get women defeminized, you get women will take safety over freedom. And if you sacrifice freedom for safety, you end up with nothing.